When we arrived in Aruba, we didn't have huge plans on what it was we were going to do. And what you'll notice is throughout the course of these 4 videos that I plan to make talking about these ports of call, that was our plan. We didn't have a plan. When we arrived in Aruba, we got off of the vessel, and our plan was literally to walk around, perhaps have some food in the port of call, perhaps have a few drinks, maybe do some window and actual shopping, take a few pictures, spend maybe 2 hours or so off of the vessel, and then we would return to the ship to enjoy the food and the experiences there. We got off of the vessel, and of course, as soon as you get off the vessel, if you've ever been cruising, one of the things that you'll notice that there are a host of individuals right outside of the cruise terminal who are trying to sell you last-minute excursions and opportunities. In typical fashion, we kindly thanked them and went about our way. We walked down what we would perceive to be the main strip leaving the cruise terminal area in Aruba. So we walked down, did a little sightseeing, and realized that it was super hot and humid. Again, another theme of these videos. We walked around for maybe an hour, and we decided, you know what? Maybe it'll be a good idea if we actually go back to the terminal and see if we can get one of these last-minute excursions. So we ended up going back to the terminal and finding a gentleman that was selling excursions. So we hopped on a bus that was going to take us on a tour of the island and perhaps take us to a beach at the end of the tour. When we got on the bus, there was a young boy sitting in the front of the van playing a video game and another lady sitting by herself. We were unsure as to what was going on, but we sat on the bus for 10 or 15 minutes. Finally, one of the people that was running the bus tour came and said, hey, this bus is too big. We can't find enough people to go on this excursion, so we're gonna put you on a smaller bus. When that bus arrived, we got on that second bus or that smaller bus, and very shortly, we went on our tour. The gentleman that led our tour was awesome. Richard is his name. Richard is a native of Aruba and has a lot of passion about sharing his experience and, quite frankly, his country and culture. He took us on a tour of his elementary school, his church, and then he took us to a famous mountain range that was used as, I think, some sort of ceremonial ground for native people of the island. The country of Aruba did try to make sure that this place was safer for us to visit. So I'm not going to say it was super safe, but it was safer because they did have some railing and some guides to kind of help you get up and down the rock. Once at the top of the rock, you had really nice panoramic views of the island. We could even see where our ship was docked, which looked like it was probably about 5 to 10 miles away based on where we were. Once off of the rock, we ended up going across the way to a bar. We had a couple of beers. We took a lot of pictures. He was super fascinated about my gimbal for my phone. In retrospect, I wish I would have sold it to him because he wanted to buy one. Daniel has a brand new one just like mine that he hasn't used yet. I just would have used that one. We continued our tour of the island. One of the things that was really neat about Richard's tour is he talked about the culture and politics of the island, their relationship with their mother country, and how there are enough welfare programs that ensures everyone has a relatively decent quality of life. One of the things that he was quick to remind us of is that if you wanted to become a super ultra rich person, you probably weren't going to come to Aruba. But he said if you want a very nice, happy, good quality of life, Aruba was a nice place to be. So the theme, I believe, or the name, or the pet name for Aruba is One Happy Little Island, and I definitely felt that everywhere we went, including our interaction with Richard as our tour guide. So one of the other things or places that we went that was really neat was the Carolina Lighthouse. So he talked about how it's not the Carolina Lighthouse. So he took us to the California Lighthouse, which was another really neat area. It was a very gorgeous area. And I believe he talked to us about how there was a ship, I believe, called the California that was carrying new furniture. They didn't know that they were close to land, which is how this lighthouse was developed. After we left there, we ended up going to a beach. So we drove down this really neat strip and got to see a lot of the area that was kind of built up for tourism. At the end of that, he said, if there's anyone here that would like to take pictures on the beach, I'll drop you off here. Now, our plan all along was to hang out on the beach for a while. We actually brought our swim trunks with us and things of that sort. So we got off the vessel, or the bus rather, and we hung out on the beach for a little over an hour. Now, I'm not a huge swimmer, but I did get in the water. Of course, Daniel was way out in the water. We called Richard back to us, and he came within minutes to pick us up. And we continued even more of a tour, kind of by ourselves this time, back to the island, or back to the cruise terminal. At the end of the day, Aruba was perhaps and by far my favorite terminal or cruise port of them all. It is the one place, if I had to choose to go back by plane and stay longer, it would be Aruba. And that's actually one of my plans or goals in the next year or two, is to go back and stay at Aruba, or stay in Aruba for a longer period of time, because it was just so much to see there was so much to do there, and it was such a great excursion for us. Now, if anyone is wondering, I think we may have spent $20 to $25 a piece, so for each of us on the bus for this tour. It wasn't a whole lot of money, and a lot of people are adamant about booking tours through the cruise line to ensure that you return in time, or that the vessel waits for you should the tour provider not be able to get you back in time. That's not necessarily something that we're worried about, because we're going to always try to get back 2 or 3 hours to the cruise terminal before the gangway is pulled up. So as I said a few moments ago, Aruba was probably my favorite cruise port to visit on this sailing. It's the one place where I actually plan to go back in the next year or two and stay for a longer period of time, especially on that Eagle Beach area. It was just so nice, and I can't wait to go back and experience the nightlife, the food and the drinks and the culture in that more developed part of the island, because the parts that we saw were awesome, because they felt like the parts of the island where people from Aruba actually get to live, the people from Aruba actually get to stay and experience, versus those areas or touristy areas that are developed for tourism.